My research proposal examines the effects of caffeine on the cognitive abilities of college students. I'd first like to introduce the topic at hand by providing some context. The first task in this type of research is to examine the current relevance. In short, why does it matter? Well, in American culture, caffeine is a staple. Approximately 89% of adults consume caffeinated beverages on a daily basis. This includes doctors, lawyers, professors, mothers, fathers, and busy college students. This research can also prove beneficial for businesses and restaurant owners. Since 2012, the coffee franchise specializing in specialty coffee flavors, Starbucks, has almost tripled its net worth and has become a powerhouse in the coffee industry. All in all, caffeine is a necessity in modern American society. Caffeine consumption has been around for ages, and the industry need not worry about a shortage of consumers anytime soon. Still, one question arises, though. In the age of pumpkin spice and mint flavored lattes and cappuccinos, which form of caffeine is most beneficial to cognitive abilities? This research seeks to answer whether one form of caffeine is more helpful than another to the cognitive and motor skills of undergraduate level students. Over time, the research and literature on the effects of caffeine on cognition and motor functions has grown exponentially. Let's explore some of the research that has previously been done on caffeine. In order to pose the question of the effects of caffeine, we must first examine exactly what it is. In short, caffeine is a naturally occurring substance that stimulates the nervous system. It belongs to a group called xanthines. Caffeine causes your body to go through processes in order to keep you awake. These processes include increased metabolism, a higher heart rate, increased respiration, and a more active nervous system. In addition, caffeine is a vasodilator, which relaxes blood vessels, as well as a diuretic, which increases urination. Aside from its waking properties, it decreases boredom and relaxation while increasing anxiety, tension, and nervousness. Research has been done on caffeine and its effects. Research by Lee et al. Suggests that caffeine is a very short-acting agent. In fact, the caffeine contained in a general cup of black coffee is passed from the stomach and entered into the bloodstream within 20 minutes of consumption. Its effects last about 3 to 4 hours, but this is shorter in smokers and longer in pregnant women and women taking oral contraceptives, all of which include college students, which further proves the relevance of this type of research. Mental alertness is directly tied to academic performance. It is what allows students to pay attention to lectures, study, and to take tests. It has been proven that caffeine improves memory performance and reaction time. However, research on whether or not this increased mental alertness improves or is harmful to academic and cognitive abilities has been inconsistent. For example, Santos et al. Stated in 2010 that coffee consumption can decrease cognitive decline, meaning that it helps with mental and academic abilities. Rogers et al. Claimed that because caffeine causes more wakefulness, it can be beneficial to students in a college environment. But according to Kahn et al. In 2017, caffeine consumption did not show any significant association with academic performance. Research was also done by Petit and DeBar to suggest that caffeine consumption negatively impacts academic and cognitive abilities. This research seeks to prove or disprove this question once and for all. This leads to my research question. Which form of caffeine, based on standard recommended serving size, is most beneficial to the academic and cognitive abilities of undergraduate college students? For this study, our independent variables are the college students, the form of caffeine being tested, and the 4 types of tests given to assess cognitive abilities. These tests will be further discussed later. The dependent variable here is the particular scores of each student per caffeine form and test. It is important to note that the best type of design for this type of quantitative research is the one-group pre-test, post-test design. Participants serve as their own control group. The 4 different post-tests provide a difference in scores, which can in turn be interpreted for a result. Each of the forms of caffeine being tested contains a different dosage of the substance than the other 3. Listed here are the respective caffeine values and the forms of caffeine being used in this research. A standard 8-ounce cup of Folgers coffee contains 48 milligrams of caffeine. A 16-ounce serving of Coca-Cola contains 45 milligrams of caffeine. An 8.4-ounce can of Red Bull energy drink contains 77 milligrams of caffeine. And 1 RX chocolate coffee bar contains 5 milligrams of caffeine. It is important to know that all caffeine amounts listed here were obtained from the brand's website. I believe that the 8-ounce cup of Black Folgers coffee will have the most positive impact on cognitive and academic abilities. It contains the median concentration of caffeine, which means not too much or not too little, so it won't cause students to be too energized and make small mistakes or too sluggish and not score as well. Also, coffee is most people's primary source of caffeine, so it may positively impact cognitive abilities by not introducing unfamiliar substances into the body. Next are the methods used to conduct this research. The most important part of this research is participant selection. Subjects will be 12 male and 12 female undergraduate college students. Both gender groups will be broken into 4 subgroups based on classification: freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. These participants will be randomly selected from a college roster across all majors and disciplines and asked to participate. Afterwards, they will be explained the risks. If one student declines, another student of the same gender and classification will be selected in his or her spot. The reason for a variety of college disciplines is to ensure fair results and that one group, participant, or discipline doesn't skew the results one way or another. Each of the participants will go through a physical to make sure they are safe to consume caffeine. The ages, genders, and disciplines are evenly distributed to provide fair and unbiased results. Next are the measures used to conduct and effectively test the cognitive effects of the different caffeine forms. In order to complete this study, a series of tests will be administered over the course of 5 days with the addition of a debriefing day. The purpose of spreading it over 5 days is so the caffeine can be safely ingested and there won't be any possibility of issues from too much caffeine consumption or carryover effects. On the day that participants are selected, they will be instructed not to eat anything the 5 mornings of the experiments. They will also be given a list of caffeine-containing foods for lunch and dinner not to consume for 3 days prior to the study and for the duration of the study. This is also to avoid carryover effects. On the days that data is taken, they will be given a caffeine-free breakfast followed by the designated caffeine form for the day, as not to affect the results and so that all caffeine distributions are even. To add, the test will be administered in a standard-sized college classroom with standard level temperatures, around 70 degrees. This is to replicate a classroom setting so results mimic what will be achieved in the same setting. The 4 areas that will be tested include math aptitude, cognitive response time, memory, and problem-solving skills. The following tests will be used to measure these areas. Math aptitude. Participants will be administered a math exam. They will be instructed to relax and informed that the purpose of the exam is not to answer every question, but to answer the questions they do complete accurately. The questions will be simple numerical computations on a 3rd to 5th grade level. The point is not to provide challenging computations, but to test the mathematical ability. Providing challenging computations may skew results, as some participants are of a higher academic classification than others, and some participants' academic majors may focus on science and math, giving them a mathematical advantage. The test will be timed, 1 minute, and measure simple mathematical aptitude. 100 questions will be on each test, and a numerical value will be used to score each test. For example, if a participant correctly answers 45 questions, then their math score for that day will be 45%. Cognitive response time. Participants will be shown a video. Periodically, a picture of a red balloon will be shown on the video. Participants will be asked to press a button when the picture appears, measuring their reaction time. The number of seconds that has passed before the participant pressed the button will be averaged. The average of these will equal their reaction time score. For example, if a participant took 2 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, and 2 seconds to press the button after the balloon appeared, then their reaction time score for that day will be 2.75. For this test, and this test only, the lower the score, the better. Memory. Participants will be read 50 random words aloud. They will then be asked to recall as many words as possible from the list in 1 minute. This measures simple memory. The number of words they can recall from the list will be divided by 50, which is the total number of words, and then the results will be multiplied by 100 to get a memory score. For example, if a participant can recall 32 words from the list, then their memory score for that day will be 32 divided by 50, and then that number multiplied by 100, or the number 64. Problem solving. Participants will be given 10 minutes to complete a 200-piece puzzle. It is not intended to be fully completed. The purpose of this test is to check participants' problem-solving skills. The number of pieces that are correctly matched to another piece will count as half a point. For example, if 50 pieces are correctly matched together, the problem-solving score for that day will be 25. On each day, participants will be given different forms of caffeine depending on the day. On day 1, participants will be given a simple breakfast containing no caffeine, and the test will be administered. After completion, the scores will be taken and recorded. On day 2, they will be given the same breakfast with the addition of an 8-ounce cup of Folgers coffee. They will be given 10 minutes to consume the whole serving. Afterward, tests will be taken. On day 3, they will be given the same standard breakfast with the addition of a 16-ounce bottle of Coca-Cola and given 10 minutes to consume the whole serving. On day 4, a single 8.4-ounce serving of Red Bull will be given, and participants will be given 10 minutes to consume the whole serving. On day 5, a single RX chocolate coffee bar will be given, and participants will again be given 10 minutes to consume the whole serving. Day 6 will serve as a debriefing day. This day will serve to report to the participants on the data that was recorded, the results if prepared, and advise on future diets. They will also be cleared to return to a normal diet. To prevent practice effects and biased results, the order of the test will be randomized over the course of 4 days, and the content will differ. Each test will also be recreated each day. For example, the math questions will be on the same level, but the specific computations will differ from day to day. The words read in the memory test will vary from day to day, and the puzzle will differ daily as well. The steps to recreate the experiment are as follows. The first step is to obtain participants. As previously stated, you must do this by randomly surveying college students. Of those randomly surveyed, select an even number of female and male participants. Of these, ensure that there is also equal representation of classifications. For this experiment, 3 males and 3 females from each classification were selected. Next, brief your participants on the study and the goal of the research. After carefully explaining the details of the study, obtain written consent from all participants. Require participants to receive a general medical physical examination to ensure that they are healthy enough to consume caffeine. In the event that a participant cannot consent or cannot be medically cleared, select another of the originally surveyed students that is of the same gender and classifications and repeat steps C and D. Lastly, provide participants with a list of caffeine-packed foods to avoid at least 3 days in advance of the first day of the study. The next steps are: choose a lab area that is both spacious and comfortable. A classroom or lecture hall setting is ideal as it mimics the environment in which the research will be most useful. Then, randomly assign each person a non-identifying number or code. Next, on the day of the first round of the study, ensure you provide participants with a filling and caffeine-free breakfast. This is the day that will serve as a control. Test conditions here will also serve as a baseline. Step 5 is to administer each of the 4 tests with a 5 to 10 minute break in between to allow participants time to rest their minds between testing. On each of the days following, provide the same breakfast with the addition of one of the caffeine products. Be sure to only provide one source of caffeine per day. Also, advise participants not to consume the foods on the previously administered list of caffeine-containing foods. Document the results of each test and the participant who achieved the score based on the previously assigned non-identifying number or code. During test days, be sure to switch the order of the test as to reduce practice effects. Also, provide the same test but with different numbers or words. After testing has ceased, ask participants to come back to the laboratory to be debriefed. An optional step is to provide an incentive for participants to thank them for participating. The last step of the research is to interpret and analyze the data. To do so, obtain scores from each test using the scores provided in the test descriptions. To reiterate, the math scores must be counted as number of correct answers over 100. The response times in seconds must be averaged. Memory scores must be divided by 50 and then multiplied by 100. For the problem-solving puzzle, divide the number of correctly matched pieces by 2. Input this data into 4 line graphs, one for each type of test. Designate a color or line pattern for each of the participants based on previously selected non-identifiers. Insert the data into the graph. Be sure to indicate the control or baseline day. Inputting this information into a line graph should allow data to be easily read and interpreted. Whichever day or form of caffeine received the highest scores supports the idea that this dosage and form of caffeine is most beneficial to that particular area of cognitive ability. On the next slide, I have provided an example of what your line graph might look like. This is a sample of what math aptitude scores might look like once input into a line graph for easier interpretation. Though these are completely made up results, it is easy to see that day 3 produced the most favorable. If this were actual data, my hypothesis would be unsupported, and the data would support Coca-Cola being the most beneficial caffeine source to math aptitude. This hypothetical data would also introduce the idea that the Rx bar is comparable to control values and thus doesn't cause any remarkable effects on cognition. This type of chart can be also done for all 4 tests. I would like to thank the following sources for providing background information and reference for this research. I would also like to add that it is important to repeat the research as time changes and to decrease researcher error. Thank you.